Well guys, after so many years, the Nintendo Switch 2 is finally here. I hope a lot of you are having fun with it if you managed to get it. I've really been loving mine. Mario Kart World has just been incredible. The game looks beautiful. It's been a lot of fun to play it. But also just having the system now means that we can really take a look deep into these settings and everything else to find out exactly all of the stuff that this system is capable of. And with that, I managed to put together this list here of a couple of tips and tricks that I would recommend for anybody who has a Nintendo Switch 2 to do with their system to give the best possible experience. And so that's what I'm going to be talking to you guys about inside of this video. Alright, so jumping right into it, one of the best features about the Nintendo Switch 2 is that it's the first Nintendo system to support HDR. Now if you don't know, HDR stands for High Dynamic Range, which means if you have an HDR TV or a monitor that supports it, when you play an HDR game on it, your game can get completely new levels of lights, colors, glows, and darks that look incredible on an HDR display. But in order to get the best experience for HDR, you actually need to calibrate it for your display, and Nintendo doesn't do that from the system out of the box. So what you're going to need to do is head on over here into the system settings, and if you scroll down here, there should be an option for display, and then at the very bottom there's going to be an option here that says adjust HDR. If we click on that, it should take us to this screen right here where you actually want to keep pressing this until you see two suns that appear on this image. Now essentially what you want to do is you want to keep pressing this top button until the sun on the right is invisible, but you can still see the sun on the left. So if I keep doing that, you can see right here is pretty much where the sun on the right is invisible. I could press it even one more if I really want to make it kind of perfect, and you can see that I can still see the one on the left. So once I have that, I'm just going to press next here. And then on this screen, if you press Y, you can adjust the brightness for the display. Now, I wouldn't recommend maxing this out all the way because it can appear really white for some things, but if you kind of adjust it here, you can see you can make it like really dim, but I would recommend somewhere kind of like right around here. Obviously you have to do this for your display to see what looks the best for you. Depending on like your lighting conditions and everything, it's going to be a little bit different for everyone. I wouldn't really ever recommend maxing this out though, but like somewhere kind of like from here, I would say up to like kind of here, you can kind of pick and choose like what you feel like looks the best for you. I think for me right here looks really good, so I'm just going to press B on that. You can actually, on this screen I forgot to mention, you can press X here to kind of switch through different images if you want to see how that would look, but once you have the setting that you want, you just press B here and then press OK, and now that's going to basically calibrate the HDR, so when you do play an HDR game, it's going to look really good on your display. And so Mario Kart World does support HDR, so if you play on a really good track that like has like the best effects of showing it, I would recommend like Bowser's Castle or DK Pass or Peach Beach with like the sky and like the really cool like sunset glows and stuff. You're gonna see that the lighting and everything is gonna look really, really good. Now going off of that, not every game has HDR support, especially with all of the Switch 1 games that are going to be backwards compatible, because there are some games that got updates like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and Mario Odyssey, which added HDR support, but pretty much 99% of all Switch 1 games don't have HDR support because it was never a feature with the original Switch. But for some reason, the Nintendo Switch 2 has a feature here where if you go into display, and then if you go all the way down here, it says right here HDR output, and for some reason as default it's set to all software, which is actually not ideal because when you play a game that doesn't have HDR support, it's basically trying to like apply HDR effects to a game that doesn't have it, and that actually makes the game look much more washed out and not really as good as it should. So what I recommend here is changing this to compatible software only, and so this is going to make it so that if you play any game that does have HDR support, it's going to set your Switch 2 into HDR mode, but then if you play any game that doesn't have it, it's going to set it back into normal SDR mode so that you can actually play the game with the colors that it's supposed to have. And so if you do play any game like that where it puts it back into SDR mode, if you do go into like your home menu and stuff, you are going to notice that the colors are going to be a little bit different. That's only because you're playing a game that doesn't have HDR, but once you go back to playing any game that does have HDR, it's going to switch it back and forth, so it'll basically automatically switch your Switch 2 into whichever mode is going to give you the best experience, so I definitely recommend doing this. by default, the Switch 2 also doesn't exactly show you how much battery percentage you have either. So if you head on over down here into the system mode and then go all the way to the bottom, there is an option for showing the battery percentage, but there's also another option here that says stop charging around 90%. This is basically so that your battery doesn't deteriorate as fast as how it does for like phone batteries and stuff, where I'm sure you guys can see like in your phone where it shows you like the lifespan of your battery. And so obviously by charging it to 100%, if you're always kind of just playing in docked mode and you have like a lot of electricity and stuff going into your system, you can put this so that it puts it at basically 90% and stops charging it, so that way you're not using your battery all the way too much and you can extend the battery life. It's up to you if you want to enable that, but I can see this being used for some people who basically just always have their system docked anyway and you're not really ever going to be taking it with you, so you can do that. But also just doing this, it's now going to show you kind of the percentage as you can see in the corner, so I do recommend adding that. If you go into the audio section of system settings, there's an option here for TV sound where you can change that to the linear PCM 5.1 surround sound. So if you have like a home theater 5.1 surround sound system, when you play games that support it, you're actually going to have like an entire dynamic sound kind of environment where you can hear all the sounds coming from different directions and stuff. So that sounds really cool, and I think it even adds it for just other games even if they don't have it, to just give you like the actual surround sound type of experience. So that seems like it would be something really cool. I don't actually have any type of surround sound system like that, so I can't do this, but if you do have that, or if you have like a home theater area somewhere, maybe you could try setting up your Switch 2 in TV mode there and just kind of seeing exactly how good of a sound you can get. It does seem like something that would be kind of fun to try out one day. If you go to the controllers and accessories section of system settings, there's an option here to update controllers, and I would recommend doing this from time to time because having the most up-to-date controllers can give you the best experience possible when playing games, and sometimes these updates also fix little issues that can happen from the controllers when like connecting to the system and just other little things. I remember when the original Switch came out, there was an issue where sometimes the right Joy-Con would just randomly disconnect from the system, but there was an update that came out that fixed them and then they worked perfectly fine. So there is actually an update right now for the current Joy-Cons as well as the Pro controllers, so you could definitely check that out and try to make sure that all of them are updated so that you're getting the best experience in all of your games. If you scroll down in the display section of system settings, there's an option here for auto low latency mode, so I would definitely recommend turning this on because this makes it so that if your TV does have an auto low latency mode or a game mode, whenever you play your Switch 2, it's automatically going to switch your TV into this mode. This basically reduces the latency and input delay that can happen when you register a button press on your controller to when it happens on your TV in the game. And by doing this and having this mode enabled, it gives you the best possible response time that you can get, so that it makes your games like really nice and responsive when you're playing them and gives you the best experience. So it can be really nice, especially for multiplayer and competitive games. Now you can also potentially increase your internet speeds and connection performance on your Switch 2 as well. So if you go to the internet section here of system settings, there should be an option here to the right that says internet settings. So if we click on that, just give it a few seconds and it's going to load up pretty much all of the internet connections that you have. So if you go to your wireless connection right here, if you click on it, there should be an option here for change settings. So you click on that and you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom right here where it says MTU. You can actually change this number from 1400 to something like 1500, and this is basically going to increase kind of the data packets that are sent back and forth from your Switch 2 to your wireless router and then back and forth, and this can potentially increase kind of your internet speeds for like downloads, and things can come actually faster. You might even get better experiences kind of playing games online, and this might even be better for like game chat and stuff too. So you might want to kind of tweak around with this and try to find something that works for you. You don't want to make it like as high as possible because that can actually make it worse, but I have kind of seen from people saying that like changing it to 1500 actually makes speeds faster, and it makes kind of just having internet gameplay much better online too. So I would definitely recommend doing that, especially if you play games wirelessly. Now, of course, one of the biggest new features about the Nintendo Switch 2 is that you can just take a Joy-Con and then tilt it to its side and start kind of rubbing it around on a surface, and it's instantly going to turn into mouse mode where you can have kind of a mouse cursor that's going to appear. But one of the features that you can actually do with this is change kind of the sensitivity for mouse mode. So if you go on over into system settings and then go into the controller and accessories, scroll all the way to the bottom, and there's actually an option here that says mouse sensitivity. So if we change this to high, for example, this can actually make it so that when you go go into mouse mode, it's actually kind of faster to kind of move around stuff. So you can kind of tweak this to something that makes more sense for you. I know some people really like having kind of faster mouse sensitivity so that it's better for them when they're playing like FPS games and things. So you can kind of see if it's something that is making it better for you. You might even want to maybe lower it if it's already kind of too fast for you and you just kind of want to have it slow if you play kind of like a more strategy game where you're kind of just moving the mouse to kind of click things around. So you can definitely do that, and it can definitely make your experience maybe a little bit better for some of these mouse games. If you go into the system section of system settings and scroll down, there's actually an option here for a system lock. So you can even set a system lock with a passcode if you don't want people getting into your Switch 2. So this is a really cool feature. So you can actually customize this like with the different kind of buttons here that you can make with the joystick, and you can make like a really complex pin if you want to, or just a simple 4-digit one. And this makes it so that nobody is able to just get into your Switch 2 right away. It's basically like what a lot of people have on their cell phones. Now, if you're somebody who plays a lot on PlayStation and you also play on your Nintendo Switch, it might be a little bit confusing to kind of go back and forth between them for some people, where I know that on like the PlayStation controller, the button for confirming is the cross button or the X button, which actually appears at the bottom in terms of like the face buttons, and then the button on the right is the circle or O button, which is the button that is used to go back. But on the Nintendo Switch, it's the opposite, where the A button is on the right, which is used to confirm, but the B button is the back button, which is on the bottom. So sometimes it kind of trips up people going back and forth and switching between the controllers. So Nintendo actually thought of that this time around, where if you go into system settings and then go into controllers and accessories, there's a button option at the very bottom right here where it says here swap A and B. So if you click on this, you can actually turn on this option right here to swap A and B, where it basically makes the bottom button be the confirming button, and then you can make the A button be the back button. So it basically matches exactly like how it's on PlayStation, and this also affects all of your games and everything too, so it might be useful for some people. And finally, in terms of a little extra bonus tip, it isn't really anything about the hardware itself. However, a lot of the games that you can play on the Switch 2 with backwards compatibility just naturally have much better experiences on the Switch 2. So I definitely recommend trying a lot of these out if you do have Switch 1 games. Like even games that never got any types of updates are just running much better on the system now because of just having like the better RAM and the better processing power. So like with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, for example, we can see that the ults for like a lot of these characters are loading up so much faster now, and there isn't like a delay. And with games that have unlocked frame rates like Bayonetta 3, you're actually getting like a nice solid buttery smooth 60 FPS now. And even some of like the Hyrule Warriors games that were always having frame rate drops and things like that too, all of those games are running much better. So definitely check around with a lot of games. You might be surprised and might actually have some games getting better experiences that you didn't expect to get them, even if they didn't get any updates. But yeah, there you go guys, those are pretty much all of the tips and tricks that I would recommend for anyone to do with their Nintendo Switch 2 to get the best possible experience that they can. If you guys enjoyed the video, definitely be sure to click that like button and also subscribe to the channel as well. I'm definitely gonna have some more videos talking about the Switch 2, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Comment down below and let me know what you think about all of this. Do you have any other tips that you think that would help a lot of people out? Definitely be sure to comment them down below. But if you don't have anything to say about this, just comment your favorite emoji down below for some engagement. I would really appreciate it. Go follow me on Twitter at Aero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.